Every December, while candles are lit and prayers are whispered, there is one night in parts of Eastern Europe when doors are locked tighter than usual. Not because of the cold, but because of what people believe walks freely between houses after midnight. They call it the Devil's Christmas Eve, a night when the sacred pauses and something older is allowed to move. The Devil's Christmas Eve is not an official holiday. You will not find it on calendars or church schedules. Its roots stretch across Eastern Europe, particularly rural regions of Poland, Slovakia, Romania, Ukraine, and parts of the Balkans. Long before Christianity reached these lands, winter was believed to be a threshold season, a time when the barrier between worlds weakened. When Christianity arrived, pagan winter rites did not disappear. They were buried, reshaped, and renamed. December 24th became holy, but older beliefs claimed something else remained active that night. People believed that evil spirits, demons, and wandering souls were given one final passage before the birth of Christ sealed the world again. Before churches and carols, winter rituals were brutal and precise. Villagers believed that on this night, animals could speak, shadows could detach from their owners. The devil himself could walk unseen, listening. In some regions, people avoided looking into mirrors, calling names outside after sunset, leaving food unattended. Old folk warnings said, if you hear footsteps on Christmas Eve that do not crunch the snow, do not answer. There were rituals meant to confuse evil, turning shoes backward at the door, hanging iron objects near windows, leaving an empty seat at the table, not for the dead, but to trick them. Churches quietly tolerated these acts, knowing they could not erase fear overnight, because fear had memory. In the winter of 1897, in a remote village near the Carpathian Mountains, a family prepared for Christmas Eve as generations before them had. The Kowalczyk household was small. A father, a mother, 2 children, and the grandmother, who still remembered the old warnings. As night fell, the grandmother insisted on one rule. No one opens the door after midnight. Not for knocking, not for voices, not even for prayers. Around 11:40 p.m., the wind changed. Snow stopped falling. The forest went silent. Then the knocking began. Slow, measured, too patient. The father approached the door until the grandmother grabbed his wrist and whispered, "That knock has no warmth." The voice followed. It sounded like a man asking for shelter, but it never used names. It never breathed between words. The youngest child, Marek, stared at the door and began to cry. He said he could see boots facing the wrong direction through the gap beneath the door. At exactly midnight, the knocking stopped, and footsteps began inside the house. The family huddled together as candles flickered violently. Then, the grandmother screamed. She pointed to the empty chair at the table, now slowly pulling itself back, as if someone had stood up. By morning, the grandmother was dead. No wounds, no signs of struggle. Her face frozen in terror. And Marek never spoke again. A regional newspaper archive from January 1898 mentions an unexplained death. An elderly woman found deceased on Christmas morning. No illness reported. No signs of poisoning. Family claims fright, but authorities list cause as unknown shock. There was no investigation, no autopsy, just a quiet burial and a warning passed down for generations. Folklore says that midnight on Christmas Eve is not the devil's arrival. It is his permission. People report footsteps without weight, voices that echo before being spoken, lights extinguishing one by one, animals panicking for no reason. The devil does not need to enter homes. He listens, and those who acknowledge him, even with fear, invite something worse than death. Because acknowledgement is consent. So what really happens on the devil's Christmas Eve? Some believe old rituals never fully disappeared and that the night still carries symbolic permission for chaos. Early church records mention night walkers and listeners, but removed references to avoid legitimizing pagan demons. Erased, but never forgotten. So the question remains, was the devil ever truly welcomed on Christmas Eve? Or was something older than him already waiting in the dark? Something that only pretended to leave when the bells rang. Tell me, is this just folklore born from fear, or a warning we stopped listening to? Tell me which version you believe, and which winter festival should I uncover next? Because some traditions don't disappear, they just wait.